Time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Tuesday, July 23rd. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by Wyoming Senior Olympics, reminding you that this year's Summer Olympics start July 31st in Cheyenne and volunteers are needed. Become a volunteer today at wyomingseniorolympics.org. At least 17 vehicles were contaminated after a fuel station in Rock Springs mistakenly switched its supplies of unleaded and diesel fuel. The Come and Go on Foothill Boulevard, which is now owned by Maverick, was running diesel through its premium unleaded pump and unleaded through its diesel pump last Tuesday and Wednesday, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
I couldn't get the gas station or its ownership company, at least not by publication time. I didn't get a response. But the service kind of administrator at a local auto shop there told me that they've seen about 16 vehicles in for repairs stemming from this incident. And another Rock Springs citizen said he fixed his own dad's truck.
Experts said diesel engines will fare far worse if unleaded fuel is introduced to the system than a gas engine trying to run on diesel. A mix-up like that could cost the owners of a diesel engine up to $5,000 in repairs. Military Mondays at Cheyenne Frontier Days are all about saluting the military. The 75th Ranger Regiment is still America's advanced strike unit today, and more than 20 of their number were in Wyoming on Monday. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that the group was brought here by Pace-O-Matic for Cheyenne Frontier Days and the annual Military Monday celebration.
They're here for 3 days. They're taking in the rodeo. These guys really relate to cowboys. The cowboy culture just meshes with them really well. It's the code of ethics. It's the self-discipline. It's the hard work. It's all of that.
Military Monday is a long-standing tradition at Cheyenne Frontier Days to honor and salute the brave men and women who have fought and are still fighting to keep America free. For rideshare drivers with Uber and Lyft, Cheyenne Frontier Days is an annual pilgrimage to pick up extra cash. Some report earning a few $100s over the first weekend of the 2024 event, others as much as $1,200. But Cowboy State Daily's Pat Mayo spoke to several operators as Frontier Days was gearing up, and many of them had one major complaint: that they can't go into Colorado to pick up fares from the Denver airport.
It's a real inequity for the Wyoming drivers, because when they take a rider or passenger down to Colorado and then try to get another rider to come back with them back up to Frontier Days, their app is blocked. It's black. You can't pick up anybody. And, that irritates a lot of people.
But even without Colorado fares, drivers say the money is so good during Frontier Days that some part-time operators take off from their day jobs, and other full-time drivers come from hundreds of miles away to make big money in Cheyenne. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
In southwest Wyoming, wide open space is waiting. This is how we explore it. In Rock Springs and Green River, Wyoming. Plan your adventure at explorewy.com.
The 2024 presidential race has steered into uncharted waters, and the Wyoming Democratic Party is playing a small role in trying to move the party forward in the race. Cowboy State Daily's Leah Wolfson reports that the party had already selected its delegates for the national convention, and all were fully backing President Biden when he made his announcement on Sunday that he was ending his 2024 re-election campaign.
They're spinning. It's not that they're concerned about really anything in particular. They're just trying to literally figure out what they should do next. Vice President Kamala Harris has been the only candidate that has really been tossed around and officially announced their candidacy for the race at this point. It's looking increasingly likely that Harris is going to continue to be the only candidate in the race, although it's still extremely early. This is only a day that we're talking since Biden dropped out.
On Monday night, the state party's 17 delegates for the Democratic National Convention met to discuss how they should proceed after President Joe Biden's historic announcement on Sunday. About 50 protesters in Rock Springs on Monday say the Bureau of Land Management should cancel its planned roundup of hundreds of Mustangs from Wyoming's remote White Mountain area and stop using helicopters to chase them. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines was at the protest.
About 50 people showed up in Rock Springs today. That included some locals, but also folks from as far away as Pennsylvania and New York. This is just another example of Wyoming wildlife being on the national stage.
Hines reports that as heated as the debate over Mustangs in Wyoming has gotten, the Monday protest was peaceful. And it's been a quiet wildfire season in Wyoming so far, but the skies over the Cowboy State are hazy and smoky from a rash of intense wildfires burning elsewhere in the United States West. Smoke from a number of out-of-state fires will continue to smother the Cowboy State for the next few days at least, according to Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi, although there are no significant fires burning in Wyoming at the moment.
There are a couple wildfires, but they're very small that are active in Wyoming. The smoke's coming from Montana and massive wildfires in eastern Oregon. The big thing that Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day wanted to iterate is that this is no time to rest on laurels. It's been a quiet wildfire season in Wyoming, but it only takes a small spark to turn a small fire into an inferno.
Rossi reports that we've got a few more days of haze before the smoke begins to clear, and that's assuming there aren't any new wildfires that ignite closer to home. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.